Hi there, and thank you for clicking on my video. Today we're going to be talking about the Dera Vandal. This is a question from the comment section. Fusing7479 was asking about the 100 munitions video. He was expressing some frustration, and we're going to help him out. He says, I thought the issue with HM is that it's so powerful and crucial, you literally cannot take it off. Every gun has to be a 100 munitions build, and it's boring as fuck. I only recently ran into this problem. I got a Dera Riven, so I set off to get the Vandal. Good weapon. Before that, I checked on the wiki. Its stats are 8% crit chance, 30% status chance, and heavy punctuating. That looks really interesting, along with the 1.35 dispo. Gotta love Rivens. He thought he could try something like a corrosive heat or a gas electric status build, and perhaps a puncher cold frostbite build. However, after spending half an hour in the simulacrum, he says he had to settle for a 100 munitions build. He said he has like 40 or 50 fully forward primary, and only 3 or 4 of them that he can remember didn't build 100 munitions. So we're going to work with him a little bit, see if we can't get some damage out of this that's steel path worthy. There are a couple builds. They're all pretty basic. For those of you that might be watching this that's new, these are the general gist of the builds, but we're going to be stubborn and make sure not to do 100 munitions this time. So the first build is going to be an anti-Grineer build. Corrosive Heat, it's a really, really solid setup. It deals directly with the enemy's scaling defense, which is armor. Even if the enemy is weak to radiation, say if they have like alloy, you will still get the armor shred from the corrosive stacks. Heat gives additional corrosive stacks, or not corrosive stacks, but additional armor shred, plus an okay dot. Okay. The multiplier is going to be pretty basic. Base damage, status chance, multi-shot. We are going to go crit chance and crit damage. And the reason being is in this build, as brutal as this is to say, because of the crit chance is so low, the crit damage is actually our flex slot a bit. A lot more than anybody wants to admit. If you want to go full corrosive, Hellfire goes away. Vital Sense or crit delay gets pulled over. Pull this down. Faction damage goes here. If you really want to go like full shred, right? You can also bump up the damage a little bit more. High voltage can be turned into an electric 90. For your full corrosive build, easy enough. So if you're trying to do like an anti-Grineer build and you don't mind swapping configs, faction damage is always a really, really good multiplier. Though it does sort of lack a lot of the luster that it normally gets because we're not dealing with dots. So there will be better multipliers. So let's go back. We'll get rid of that. Heat goes here. And corrosive. Alright, so pretty basic. Whatever. So the base multipliers, just to go over it. Multi-shot base damage from the galvanized aptitude. Base damage from merciless. Crit damage, crit chance. Fire rate and punch through. Punch through is going to help a ton on this weapon. Dual 60/60s for corrosive. And a 90 for heat to give us a little bit of a dot. To be honest, we're using this a lot more than I care to admit just for the additional armor shred. It's going to be super important to get our damage up. The thing is that the main issue as I use this weapon is that, one, it has phenomenal status chance. The issue with this build is we're not really using it for dots. Okay, so we're bastardizing it a little bit. We're turning it into a raw damage build. That being said, the status chance is going to help us out a ton with getting all of these statuses procced. You're going to see if when we go out into Steel Path, you're going to see we're regularly hitting all 5 statuses, and we're going to have viral from the Panzer, and we won't need to prime. One of the things, because this weapon is such a bullet hose as is, it's part of the meme. You know it, you love it. I did decide to go with a Rage setup, a Rage Arcane. Other than that, this is just a really tanky weapons platform. Vigilante Pursuit is obviously, I guess I can swap that out for Sure-Footed, or just take it off. But Rage for a little bit more base damage, it is going to help us out a noticeable amount. That being said, and this is a bit of an old weapon. I mean, let's be honest, it kind of feels like it needs like a Prisma variant or something to get like the Gorgon treatment. Where it's like a high crit, because that's sort of the name of the game now, because it's so much easier for us to get statuses onto stuff. The Vandal, or the Dera Vandal does feel like it needs like a crit chance variation, even though that wasn't really like the purpose of it, right? It's sort of an older weapon, or maybe even like a Nightwave mod to bring this back into line. So the issue is going to be basically, hold on, here we go. Okay. So the issue is going to be base damage. We're going to help this out a bit. And the reason why I'm on Nezha is this is actually, normally, you'll see this normally and when I'm showcasing like a weapon damage build, but most of the time I'm not really using anything to boost the damage. This time we will be, because this weapon does need a lot. But Zada's Whisper actually has a really interesting mechanic. And I'll show you in a second. It'll be how we're sort of going to increase the damage and the kill rate. But Zada's Whisper and the Dera is a pretty solid meme. Let's go ahead and grab a couple guys, and I'll show you what the mechanic is. We'll turn the Whisper on. You can see as the bullets jump through, and they'll ricochet into adjacent enemies. If you don't put punch through one, this effect doesn't happen, and you can see it's sort of ricocheting and they'll travel around. It's kind of a fun little meme. And as the enemies like walk toward, it's a little bit more apparent as the enemies are working toward you since they're standing. If you have an enemy that's like panicked like this because of the heat dot, the other enemies will continue walking in, and they'll travel through the crowd. Like, you see how they re-trigger on each other, and that's where the punch through is going to help you. If you don't do punch through, that won't happen. So we're going to use that to get our damage up. And as the bullets go through and puncture, if they kill something, the bullets will fly out and re-trigger Zadas again. And the bullets will continue to sort of like, until the punch through runs out, they'll continue to sort of pseudo swim through the enemy, if you will. So we're going to showcase some Steel Path gameplay. I'm going to go through each of the builds just to sort of prove the point. This is a very basic setup. This is not rocket science. Probably the only thing that's sort of like flavor, if you will, is that I went triple element. But obviously the point of this is to make sure not to use hunter munitions. So that's what we're doing. No hunter munitions. This is a corrosive heat build. We're going to go against some Grineer, and we'll go until we kill an acolyte. And then we'll do the Corpus build, and then we'll do like an Infested build, killing acolytes as we go. Pretty basic. Takuva Fortress. Let's find an exterminate. Mobile defense. Actually, you know what? We can just do a survival. And I'll just leave when I kill the Acolyte. So, okay, here we go. We're in the mission. I'll be giving brief commentary as I go through. And we're going to be showcasing this as much as possible. Just showing that it works. Punch Through's putting in some work for us as the bullets travel through. And while we're getting our damage scaled. Alright, looks like Merciless is stacked. So, okay, so the damage that I'm seeing is low thousands. The multiplier isn't super heavy. Obviously, we're getting the occasional orange from the Vigilante mod in our Exilus. Let's try to get a headshot. Alright, 27k on a headshot. Nothing to sneeze at. But considering it's a bullet hose, you can see the statuses: 4 puncture, a heat, 10 viral, and 8 corrosive. So really, really quickly we're building up stacks. And this is one of the things that like, the reason why I went with Rage is because if I were to put acceleration on this, I would be out of ammo and I would be overkilling. Now we are getting a bit of a heat dot. We're still killing a little fast for it. Okay, let's look at the heat dot. 80... 200, let's get some headshots. 1300, sorry, 13,000, 14,000. Not breaking the bank, but it's a bullet hose. It's fun. It kills. If you want the damage and you're chasing damage numbers, maybe this isn't your version of fun. But the fact is regardless of what you think about the Dera Vandal, this is probably one of the more fun weapons to ADS with. Like, I really enjoy like how snappy this is. Like, the zoom feels pretty good. You know, just trying to steel man the weapon as much as possible. And on alloy, 34k heat dot, not too bad, right? And obviously Zada's given us a decent damage boost. And one of the reasons why I do consider the crit damage mod with this to be a bit of the flex slot is because of the headshot bonus multiplier, right? From getting crits on headshots. In order to trigger the bonus, you need crits, not a specified crit multiplier. And because of the puncture bonus, we are actually hitting... we are actually critting quite a bit. So we need that headshot multiplier, especially with Zadas. You get a couple headshots, enemies tend to fall pretty quick. And obviously it is just kind of a, because of the bullets, it is just kind of a little bit more of a finesse. Alright, we got our Acolyte. Alright, here we go. Who do we get? Misery. Oh, this is gonna be kind of annoying. I'm not gonna Zadas or use my 2 on him to boost the damage. So the corrosive waiting is doing us some favors. Is helping our DPS out quite a bit. Obviously, the fact that this is a bullet hose kind of hurts you on the damage attenuation side. But with the corrosive waiting and the heat waiting and the fact that it's a puncture weapon, the damage actually doesn't feel that bad. Obviously, it's not a one-shot, but you know, for something generic to grab and shoot, and fusing with his Riven, he's probably doing more damage than me right now. It's near instant stacks across the board, especially considering like multi-shot. You're gonna stack these up pretty quick. The puncture buff is gonna help you out a ton. So it is kind of up to you how you want to play this. I went with the armor shred setup against the Grineer. It feels pretty good. If you want a little bit more damage and you want that heat dot to shine a little bit more, you saw when I was shooting stuff that the heat dot was doing after like a quick burst. I mean, obviously on the burst like this, you're talking like 100 instances of damage, right? We were still managing to get like 35k heat dots. A lot of those were probably headshots also, but with a faction mod, you would lose some raw damage, but you would gain it back on the heat dot. And it's not going to hurt you too bad, but it's because of the crit chance. Losing the crit damage is going to be sort of a conditional buff because you have to crit, where the faction bonus is going to happen every shot. So that's going to help you out with your base damage. You're going to recover some damage there, and then you're going to get the bonus on the dot, and that's going to help you out even more. Where before, you're talking basically with the puncture buff, almost a 50% crit chance. So the crit multiplier isn't going to be applying every time, so you're not really losing the whole thing. It's not like you're hitting like 95% crit chance or like hitting oranges or reds, right? So the crit damage doesn't hurt you too much. The crit chance, you want that a little bit more so you can trigger that additional headshot multiplier, which is, you know, the weakness bonus for 3x, and it doubles your damage if it doubles your damage on hit if it's a crit. So the crit, you actually end up, if you're aiming for headshots, you actually do lose quite a bit of damage. So the crit delay, I think, justifies itself. Obviously, the negative fire rate helps you out a ton, because right now, we're basically dumping a magazine every 4 seconds. So this is sort of my take on this. Obviously, does Steel Path Kuva Fortress just fine. Let's go over to Corpus. Obviously, no 100 munitions here. This is going to be a heavy toxin waiting. No surprise here. Because we're not dealing with, we went straight into, we did double toxin mods. So same thing, multi-shot, galvanized aptitude for damage and status chance, shred again. This time, because we're relying so heavily on the dot, we are going to go faction. Crit chance, crit damage again with merciless, because we're dealing with dots, and this is a bullet hose. So you're trying to mow stuff down, you're trying to still kill stuff with dots. Where if you were using like a deadhead build, you might not be able to do it because the dots would be killing. Even though at like regular star chart, you know, you're going to be killing with headshots anyway. So other than that, the build really doesn't change, just seeing the difference. So like Vital Sense would be down here. So these 5 mods don't change. So it's the same thing because of the free slot, because we're relying exclusively on a dot to do our damage. The faction mod carries its weight significantly harder. So pretty simple. Let's run and do Steel Path. We'll find like an Exterminate or something. Actually, what do we got? Rescue, Exterminate. Here we go. And we'll just burn through this, and then we'll do the Infested. Honestly, with the Corpus and the Infested, because you're so... you're going to be more reliant on dots, this weapon actually does perform better against that, where, say, against, like, Grineer, raw damage does pay a little bit more dividends in terms of, like, a generic build. Alright, we're stacked up. Let's see if we can see what the dots are doing. Okay, they're dying instantly. One. Alright, toxin dot was 6k, 1700, 200. Okay, died. Oh, that guy died. Okay. Toxin dot 7200, 8300. 3,300. Obviously, viral's helping us out a bit there. And with these guys, you aren't gonna need Zadas too much. Like, not to be mean to the Corpus, but I know the ones and zeros are going to be upset, but the fact is the Corpus are just so much easier to kill than the Grineer. Not saying the Grineer are hard, but I'm just saying compared to the Grineer, the Corpus are just easier, because you can bypass their main defense, like, without a specific mod, like Hunter Munitions. And their health bar is so low compared to what their main defense is. So you can stack viral. Like, you can prime with viral. And it's a moddable dot, right? Where corrosive, or not corrosive, but slash, which is what we're comparing to. Where slash needs base damage, faction damage, right? Crit tiers. Toxin can scale off of elemental weighting, so it's a way stronger dot, and that's why, like, the Corpus are so much easier to kill with, like, a toxin dot, is you can really amp the damage. Where with slash, you basically have base damage, faction damage, like, you have the same crit tiers and whatnot, but you also gain the elemental. So, like, toxin on melee is super potent against Corpus. And also, just due to the nature of the weapon, the dot, or not the dots, but the kill time is going to be a little bit slower. You're going to be able to get more damage into a single spot for sure. Come on, dude. Let me kill you. There's that. You're going to be able to get more damage onto a single target compared to an AoE, but the kill time of the AoE, an AoE weapon, like, say, I don't know, like a Torrid, which is what we're in the age of. I just don't see this ever beating, with similar builds and buffs, beating like a Torrid and Karnon. Not saying it needs to, but I'm saying just compared. We are going to boost our damage a little bit. Come on, Misery, you can do it. Yeah, the Corpus build isn't going to work out too well because we're mostly dot damage. It isn't going to work out too well against Acolytes. I would say bring something else or bring like a primer, right? But if you prime, get an additional damage bonus. Like if you're running Nourish, this is going to do way better. Because you're going to have Viral Toxin on the weapon, which is going to make you do even more damage against the Corpus. And running Nourish will allow you to do way more damage. Because you're not going to get like Corrosive or anything like that unless you're running like Saren or something like that. But you probably know that because you'll be running like Toxic Lash and whatnot. So pretty basic against the Corpus, nothing rocket science. Obviously, a weapon that is designed as a status build against the Acolyte is going to do way less. Like killing Acolytes heavily favors pure raw damage because the Acolyte is status capped. So obviously the Dera Vandal looks pretty meh against it, justifiably. Alright, the next build is Infested. This is just going to be a super generic gas build. We're going to make sure to get our status over 100% because we're so reliant on the gas dot. If you want an Infested build, but you can't be pissed to run like a faction mod, in this case, I would really recommend running a faction mod with a setup. You could run a 90 electric also. And it would basically be like a bonus damage build, if you will. Run it here. Like this. So you do get some sort of electric elemental weighting. So the theory behind this is going to be more bonus damage. This will unironically do better against the Acolytes. But same philosophy, crit chance, crit damage, base damage, multi-shot, base damage from Merciless, a little bit of reload speed, doing us a favor, prime shred. So we're going to be reliant on the bonus damage for the initial hit from gas electric to get our damage up. This will actually, I mean, granted it's killing Infested, but this will actually do pretty well. But let's go ahead and check this out. The gas build, you're probably aware of how that's going to perform. I like it a little more than the electric build because every time you proc something, you basically make a little cloud because there's so much status. You get 10 stacks of gas damn near instantly, and every time you proc it, you turn it into a little AoE. You'll see with Zada's again that will get the double up effect. And obviously as the bullets travel through, they'll be proccing gas. So it doesn't interact or affect the enemy movement too much. And we'll get a much higher raw damage on hit than using electric. Because the enemy's going to have a better weakness. Your weakness profile against the enemies is going to be way stronger. So orange crit for 29k, body shot for 10, 13, 5k, 4k. Let's see if I can find a gas dot. 10k for a gas dot, 30k on an orange, 19k. Body shot gas, actually that's an electric dot. Let's see what we got. 900, 1900, 5400. So not too bad. Make sure to get your Kavat scans, of course. Alright, we'll turn Zada's on. And Zada's is just shredding like normal. I am going to have to figure out what's causing that armor shred, though. Where'd you go, buddy? Come here. I'll have to figure that out later, but did you guys notice that the chargers are getting stripped? Is that new? Where is it at? I wonder what's causing that strip. Like, if I get close to them. Anyway, I'll figure that out later. So, pretty basic. Alright, let's discuss a possible level cap build. It's a bit memey, but if you like your Vazra and protective dashing, I got you.
You are a true hunter.
We can get its damage high enough. And we are going to need the regular simulacrum for this. Alright, so as per our usual level cap setup, we went all the way into viral. Right, easy enough. Prime Cryo, having polarity issues, but a 90 mod could go here also. So a 90 toxin would be infected clip, would go up here. Multi-shot base damage because we will be priming. Deadhead because we're going for headshots. We want that multiplier. Faction mod. 165 cold. 60-60 for toxin. Crit damage, crit chance, aptitude, and a little bit of fire rate. Obviously, doing the doing fervor for not multi-shot crit tiers. We'll get a little bit more, 15% for the next tier. We'll summon our exos. Actually, let's just make sure they're steel. Yeah, they're steel path. All right, so our 195 exos. Let's see how we do. 22k. All right, 402k, 135k, 36k no crit. Quarter mil crit. 276, 225. 267, 241, 256k, 536k on an orange. Let's do buffered is 865, 375, 666, 865, 589 on an orange, 29k, 32k, no crit. 234k, 65k, 134. Alright, 284k with viral and slash boosting. But obviously we got the deadhead stacks, we got rage, so we are getting some base. The vigilante set's helping us out a tiny bit, giving us those oranges more regularly. So pretty basic setup. Say you want more, say you want millions. Pretty basic. Mirage is our go-to girl. The Hall of Malevolence, whether you want to run the one augment or not, this is a pretty generic build for me. It's a bit of strength, not an insane amount. It's mostly for duration. Hall of Malevolence does not need to be here. But basically you're going to be doing it for the damage increase from her 3 and Nourish on top. Should give us into a couple million. Nothing super impressive, but obviously if you're doing like 2 mil. Alright, 475, 39k, 1.7, 1.7, 1.4, 2.2 mil, 2.1, 2.1. Uh, 54k no crit, quarter mil no crit, quarter mil no crit, 1.2 yellow crit, 1.5 no crit, but 3 multi-shot. 1.1, 478, 1.2, 9.7 or 977, 478k. And considering it's a bullet hose, you would just dump the mag into it, and you'd have plenty of damage, right? So the option would be up to you. You cannot run Ooh, pardon. You cannot run Eclipse and Zadas together. So you're going to have to figure out what you want to do. I like the Eclipse Nourish combo. Um, Zada with Neja 2 feels pretty good for me. That's a lot of multipliers working together. But either way, Eclipse, it's all additive. It feels good. Um, but Eclipse and Nourish is a big damage increase, and that'll be enough to get you into level cap territory. To be honest, probably only need Nourish, because you saw what we were hitting before, and it's not like we were hitting a massive, massive increase. Like, Nourish was putting in a lot of work. So it's up to you how you want to play it, but the builds are still pretty simple. Just make sure to get those multipliers on there, and the multipliers themselves will shoot you toward level cap, right? So it's up to you. Here are your builds. Fusing, I hope this helps. We'll go back over it one more time. Corrosive Heat feels really solid. The weakest one, though appropriate for Corpus, if you're looking to kill an Acolyte, is the Toxin build. Pretty straightforward. This one does the worst against the Acolytes. Gas Electric does pretty well against the Acolytes because it's the bonus on hit damage, so it doesn't really care about the dot too much. Since it triggers on T equals 0, like it triggers with the hit at the same time. So you're getting essentially bonus damage on your main hit. So it feels pretty good. If you don't want to do gas electricity, get rid of the electricity mod, do faction, feels pretty good also. And obviously the pure viral level cap build. So fusing 7, 4, 7, 9. I hope this helps, gives you some options. If you, for whatever reason, get this weapon in the circuit, don't worry about running Frostbite, because the main thing behind Frostbite is the multi-shot and the crit damage. Or if you do want to run Frostbite, listen, if you want to do it, just make sure you get your base damage back on. I'm a fan of Rage for situations like that. Using Rage with Frostbite feels really, really good. Though it is less damage than running Acceleration Merciless. Acceleration on the frame, Merciless on the gun. But the fact is that it would give you the flexibility, since one of the decrees in the circuit, obviously, is cold damage on crit. You could mod basically however you want, and you wouldn't even need to put cold on the weapon. So, it's up to you. But I hope this helps. Anyway, take it easy, guys. Thank you for watching. Couple of Dera Vandal videos. This weapon is just... it's really solid. I enjoy this weapon. It feels great to ADS with. So, hopefully... maybe you'll pick up a cheap Riven, because Lord knows these things got to be pretty cheap. The weapon's old enough with a 5-dot disposition or a 1.35, like Fusing was saying. Anyway, take it easy, guys. Have a blessed day. Take it easy.